even though I wasn't born here, I learned Italian pretty well. You know, talking with my dad, my mother, and everybody else, and I became an officer at the Italian club, and I became secretary, and I started writing the Italian language real good, and I spoke it well. So they voted me in as president. So we had the Constitution. Our Constitution was all written in Italian language. There was no English there whatsoever. So when we got back with the liquor control board, you know, they made us change it. But anyhow, all the old Italian people used to tell my dad, was Ross born in America, or was he born in Italy? He has to be born in Italy because he talks Italian, he writes it. Oh, no, my son is Martin, he's born over here, you know. So anyhow, one time the 6 West brothers all got together. Not too often, but we were all together.
Remember this one?
And I was president of the Italian club. When I was president of the Italian club, all 6 brothers were together. We took my dad to the Italian club.
We took him to the Italian club on a Sunday. We had this pre-planned.
We had this all planned. Now, we were all going to give him $1 apiece after he paid. And you remember your grandpa. He used to always carry that little snap pocketbook. It had 2. Go ahead, Jean-Pierre. Go ahead. Destroy everything. Well, anyhow, he had a little snap pocketbook that he kept the bills on one side and the change on the other side. So we all got together. We said, okay, 3 of us was going to get on one side and 3 on the other side. And so when we ordered our beers, we all ordered Arnica City. He drank Iron City, but he couldn't say Iron City. He could only say Arnica City. So we all ordered 7 beers, okay? And I think at that time the beer was a quarter bottle.
Well, a quarter, but none of us were going to reach.
But we weren't going to reach. We made up our minds we weren't going to reach. And we'd already told Freddie, the bartender.
We already told him what we were going to do.
From my dad, you know. So 3 of us is on one side, we're talking, and 3 on the other side talking.
He's so small, he's about this big.
Yeah, he's about this big, and Fred says, Frank, who's going to pay? He looked, and we're all talking,
we're all looking at each other, we're laughing. No, so we're talking to each other like, you know.
He reaches in his back pocket, and he gets that little snap pocketbook out, and he gets 2 $1 bills, you know, he puts them on the bar. Fred gave him a quarter change that day.
And man,
he's not saying one word.
He didn't say one. He was so pissed that he had to
pissed off. So we had always made up our minds we were all going to put $1 bill in front of us. So all 6 of us put $1 bill in front of him. He saw that money. He said, "Hey, Fred," he called the bartender. "You see over here? These are all of my sons."
We weren't his sons before we were bastards.
We weren't sons before.
Oh, he hated it.
We weren't his sons when he had to pay, but as soon as we gave him that money, we were all his sons.
Oh, these are all of my boys, Fred.
All of my boys are all of my sons. All of my sons.
He was such a little shit. I mean, he was real short.
My grandfather was short.
They're all most Italian guys are short.
He used to go to the park in town. He always wanted to live right in the middle of town. You know, he never wanted to live anyplace else. So we lived in the middle of town. And he used to always, he stayed at the Alexander Hotel, which is on Market Street. In the mornings he'd get up, and he always ate over at Clark's Grill, across the street. It's called Benella's now. But if Mrs. Henry was back in the kitchen, she didn't open up yet. It wasn't time to open it. He'd pound on the door. And Mrs. Henry looked out, she'd see my dad. She'd come out, let him in. She'd cook him a couple eggs and give him his toast and stuff, and she never took any money from him. So, yeah, so anyhow, he said, he would sit there and, oh, okay, Miss. He said, thank you, Mrs. And away he'd go. So this one morning, he's in there, and there was a sort of a round booth there where all the old timers hung out. Was a district attorney, all the
big
the
shots.
mayor, and all of them sat there.
They all went to the same
thing
place.
as hell. He was sitting at that counter all the time, and they're all sitting over there, and he figures, what the hell? So he comes in one morning, instead of sitting at the counter, he sits right in the middle of that booth. And they had to surround him, you know. They all surrounded him.
All these guys are in suits.
Mrs. Henry didn't say anything. She didn't say anything. They all sat there. So he gets his pipe out, he fills it up with his Five Brothers tobacco, and he had these long matches. You know, he'd light it up and then he stood the match. He always took the match wherever he take through it. So they're sitting there about 20 minutes later, the booth caught up.
And here's all these big-time operators, all the big wheels in Catania.
So Mrs. Henry, who owned the restaurant, says, I know when any of you people tell the Stilson boys, don't you dare tell the Stilson boys, or you'll never have to come back. Because she knew all of it, you know. She knew what it.
Tell him about his park.
Oh yeah. So one morning, there's 4 guys always loafed at the park bench right by the river. Very big tree there, and they had their own park bench. There was George McMasters, who was Irish. Johnny Whittle, who was Polish, can't remember the other guy, but there was four of them. Sat on that bench every morning. You know, they'd have their breakfast and they would go down there and they'd talk. No, Dad didn't understand that.
Not a
kind of
word they
English.
said.
He never,
Not a
never
word of
understood,
English.
but
He'd
he
just
would
sit
look at
there.
the expressions on their face, and they'd say something, "You goddamn all right," you know. And every once in a while somebody said something, "Dirty son of a bitch." He knew all the swear words. He knew all the swear words. So Joe and I snuck up behind him. Joe and I snuck up behind him one time. We're watching the whole conversation. And Dad kept on going, you know. So we come around, and Joe says, "What do you know about what they're talking about?" Oh, Mr. Whittle said, "He knows." He knows. Because he was always coming in with a swear word, because all he had to do was look at their expression. He knew what they were talking about. So this one time, he has breakfast real early with Mrs. Henry. And he gets his jacket. He had a jacket. He always wore a jacket. He wore, I think he had 50 jackets. You know, he used to put his lit pipe in his jacket pocket here. He put big holes in it. So anyhow, he starts down, he goes over in the park, and there's a couple of guys had come from out of town somewhere. They were going to fish. Well, you weren't allowed to start fishing in the Allegheny River till 7 o'clock in the morning. So he was down there by 6:30. Here's two guys sitting on that bench. He gets down there, "Hey, what's the matter for you?" "This is my bench." The whole park is full of empty benches. So he goes, "This is my bench over here. My friends are coming pretty soon. We're going to sit over here." And those guys kept looking at him. He kept standing there. "I told you, this is my bench over here. My friends are going to come over here." And those guys couldn't figure out what the hell he's talking about. All these benches are open. So anyhow, they finally got up, left him sit down, and they went up the street, about 2 blocks only to the police station. And they went up and they said, "There's a jerk down there at the station."
Crazy.
Down at the bench. He's nuts. And the chief of police, "What do you mean he's nuts? He's down there telling us that's his bench. There's all kinds of benches in the park, and he's telling us that's his bench. He's waiting for his friends." Yeah, so Mel Byers was chief of police. He had to call me in Pittsburgh. He called me in Pittsburgh. So he walks down the street with those guys, and he looks over and says, "Oh," I said, "You mean that guy over there?" "Yeah." They said, "That fellow, he's crazy." "Oh, no." He said, "He's mayor of the park."
That's his bench.
That's his bench. That's his bench. He's the mayor of the park. So they start walking away, and the chief of police says, "Jesus Christ, even the chief of police in this town is nuts."
What's his bench? He was tight, wasn't he, Uncle Ross? He didn't like to give up his money.
Oh, my God, was he tight.
He'd cut people off. They'd
He
all
loved
swear
his
at
money.
him. He'd take utopia.
Well, he never had it. You know, Mom never left him eat money.
He'd show you the change person had 2 pennies on one side.
Oh,
and all his money
yeah,
on the other side.
He never knew what money was. He never knew what money was. He never cared about money. He never cared.
Something else. What
Oh,
smoke?
Dwayne's got one of those nasty cigars.
One time, Cuddy Pike. Next time, Five
Christy.
Brothers.
Smelled so bad.
Five Brothers, Cuddy Pike.
Got a headache.
Did you tell about the change? When you got the change back one time, like
Yeah.
he was
Yeah, the movie.
At the
The
movie.
movie.
Yeah, we
Then-
saw that.
said?
Yeah,
No.
they thought they cheated. They gave him one piece, the 50-cent piece instead of 2 quarters.
Yes, down in the basement. Okay.
It's in the sink up in John.
And I used to really ball him out sometimes when I'd go up there, you know, because of the different things that I heard the week that he was there. And I'd go up there and I tell him, "You should not use to get him mad." He could never say it's no use to get mad. He'd say, "You should not use to get him mad." He had his own versions.
I know Joe said he was taking canned foods up and he threw them in the trash.
She had ice cream and didn't get us any.
Yeah, and then Joe would buy him socks. Joe always bought him socks. Always bought him socks. And he went up there one time with Francis Angelo and says, "Hey, Ross," or Joe, he said, "You better go to the garbage over there and look at the." Joe went over there, collected 3 or 4 pairs of socks that he threw in the garbage. And Joe said, "What are you doing? I'm buying you all these socks and you're throwing them in the garbage." It's wore out. It's no good. He didn't want to watch. They were new. They were brand new. He did it with his underwear. Brand new. He threw them away. Long underwear.
He stayed with Mom. He took a bath, he'd take his underwear off, throw them in the trash.
Always. He thought there was no good no more.
Mom would dig them out of the barrel and wash them, you know. He wouldn't wear them again. He said they were old.
I could have wrote a book on him. You know, if he didn't swear so much, the only thing you knew was swearing. If he didn't swear so much, they could have put him on TV. He was a comedian. You know, he was a real comedian. Believe it or not, he was a comedian. You could have put him on TV and he'd probably made a fortune. The way he talked, because he swore so much. The only words he really knew in English was swear words. He didn't know anything else.
Yeah, he'd say Italian.
Oh,
then
he'd
he'd
say
say
Italian words, my
something.
dad taught me were bad words, and I never.
And I don't care where we lived. He had a name for every guy and every woman. He had a name for all of them. Not their names, but he gave them all nicknames. The witch or the cripple. Oh yeah, whatever they were, he had a name for everybody. And he used to sit on the porch with his pipe, you know, on that porch, and he'd watch the people walking up the streets. And he'd speak, always spoke out loud. And he'd say, "Ooh, what a beautiful set of legs." And my mother could hear me in the kitchen. "Ooh, okay, Billy, go she could tell you that meant, boy, what a beautiful set of hips she had." All the old Italian people, they liked a woman with a lot of body. They saw a real skinny woman, they thought she was sick. She was the one with but they had to be big and broad. Oh yeah, well, all the old Italian people. He called her the Sgomba.
She used to pick up coal
On the railroad tracks, coal, wood, or whatever. And they had money. And her husband was superintendent on for the railroad, for the streetcar track.
Oh yeah. Who was the lady that smelled like garlic all the time?
Mrs. Mattei.
Mrs. Matei.
Oh, no, that's whoop. Step on that. Oh, keep pushing. He goes, step on that. Oh, keep pushing. She talked to you right in your face. Hi, you. She always goes. Mrs. Mattei. Hello, hi, you. She's blowing her breath on you. She rips out a whole thing full of garlic.
Garlic like this.
Well, she had it because she drank a lot of beer. She didn't want nobody. She thought nobody would
walked
know
down
that
the
she was
railroad
drinking.
tracks,
So
smashed.
she was
I
full
lived
of
there.
garlic.
Wow.
My grandfather.
We had some characters in that situation.
Funny. Something else.
So before, we'll all take off.
Tell them about when Grandma would get mad at you and tell Grandpa to take you in there and hit you.
Oh yeah. Joe and I were.
You were the old. Yeah.
We were the two oldest, and every time that we would go out to play or something, you know, we had to be in at a certain time. And everybody else in that whole block could stay out longer than Joe and I. Because Mom wanted to go to bed early. She always went to bed, because she had to get up early to get Dad up. So she'd tell us what time we had to come in. And Dad, you know, he realized that Joe and I weren't treated right. You know, all the other kids are out there playing, and Joe and I had to stay in the house. So he got, you know, we had a porch, the window like here, and he would put a little block of wood under the window. So that when Joe and I get done playing, my mother never knew how we came in. He was always helping us, always. He always helped. And then he was the type of a dad that did not care about discipline. So anyhow, every once in a while, my mother would find out, you know, we were getting into it in the house, but she'd get real mad at us. And she, in her way, would tell Dad, "You got to do something. You got to do something. You got to do something." And Dad would he put it on with it. He put on with it. And finally, one day, you know, we only had a front room, you know that, and the kitchen. So Dad said, "Okay," he told Joe and I, "Come on, we're going to the kitchen." We went to the kitchen. So Dad comes in, and Mom's in the other room. Dad comes out. She grabs me like this, you know, and then tight as aquí está pluma, aquí está el último. I mean, this is the first and last time. That's all. He never hit it. And then he said, oh, and then Joe and I, yo! By the time we were really getting it, you know. So funny, my mother used to say to him, so when is the first and last time ever going to happen? And he would go like this, oh yeah. But he never wanted to lick anybody. Never wanted to hit anybody. But for him, it was always the first and last time. And he grabbed you by the head, you know, with that thumb over. It's the first and last time, he would go, in Italian. Aquí está prima, aquí está el último. That meant this is the first and this is the last. My mother said, when is it ever going to happen? You know? So she got his temper up pretty good sometimes. But he would tell Joe and I to yell and scream. And we did. We yelled, we screamed.
What do you call Uncle John?
John the Brown.
I used to caddy at the country club. I'd come home really dark. I mean, I don't know how he knew Brown. I really don't. Except for maybe the
None
dog.
of us knew.
Dog
You
was
just
Brown.
talk Brown. Here comes Johnny Brown. John Brown. John Brown.
He never touched me.
Nobody ever touched you. You were spoiled.
Oh,
You
Russ
were
kicked
what?
my ass one day.
Yeah.
Ross did.
Yeah, with the pointed goddamn
I didn't hear
shoes.
Oh, what's this? Did you get,
John.
get you on camera?
Huh?
you get him
Oh,
telling
yeah.
how you
I did.
Yeah.
did, he
Yeah, I
get
got
up
it
for
from
Johnny
Dave
and kicked him with the pointed shoes?
No, he kicked me with
You,
a
Uncle Ross did.
He kicked my
Why?
ass.
What
I
did
got
you
in
do?
between a couple times. He did, you know, my mother used to get some out of my sister Annie, because she liked to sneak out once in a while.
My mother never did that, right?
I used to help.
My daughter, my children want to know about their grandmother. You have to tell them about
I used to
Kate.
help Kate get out. And you know what? You know, she could get out a lot of times to go out with Tita.
Oh,
Tita was almost 3 years younger than her.
yeah,
And she allowed Kate to go as long as Tita went with her.
yeah.
Poor little Tita just went along. She didn't know what that was going on.
And Kate was out dancing. Tita was sitting there like,
Kate was dancing with her boyfriend and Tita sitting there, you know, just glad to be
Tita
out.
couldn't dance.
Just glad to be out with her.
Yeah. But what about the time you kicked Uncle John?
it was either him or Joe. I can't remember.
One
which.
time that my dad, my mother got so mad at Kate, Annie, was sneaking out. She snuck out with the girl next door, Fern Bish. Remember the house next door that you
Yeah.
moved into?
Yeah.
Well, Fern Bish lived over there.
Yeah.
And she wasn't allowed out either. And there was a low roof. And Annie used to catch her. She'd jump off the roof and they'd go out
Did you want your
dancing. All they did is dance. They didn't want to go out with boys. They just wanted to go out dancing.
find it?
So anyhow, Annie come home late, and my mother got on my dad. She kept screaming and screaming. Finally, he caught Annie
Okay, yeah.
at the foot of the stairs, and he started because she screamed with him upstairs, and he started beating her. And Joe and I happened to be there. We got him. He'd have killed all three of us. All three of us was grabbing my dad. He would never touch a soul. It was my mother agitating and agitating and agitating.
It's okay.
But my dad never wanted to touch anyway.
Wait till your father gets up.
There you go.
Yeah. Well,
He was scared to death of him. He never touched his mom.
never-
No, it's like my mom. My dad be away for a month at a time. He'd
There
come
you
home. It's like
go.
we happy to see him.
Right.
My mother'd lay all this
No,
stuff
we had a
on
good
him.
dad. Well, I can't help it. That's that damn.
Like that cigar.
Oh, that's something.
Sit over there. You gotta talk.
That's the best 5-cent cigar you ever smoked.
But you still didn't tell about Uncle John.
This is Marsh Wheeling, John. This is Marsh Wheeling. They make these in Virginia, West Virginia.
He must have made him with horse shit.
Well, they rode them around in horse shit. In
That's how you ate.
Wheeling, West Virginia, they have the horses there. They do. They have a horse track there. They just rubbed all this alcohol in. The tobacco in that horse shit. That's why you smell the way they do.
So tell us about what happened to Uncle John. Why he got kicked with the shoes or whatever.
John never told me that. See, John was much younger than me. I didn't know a lot.
Yeah.
of
What
things.
happened? Tell me about the time Uncle Tony threw the fork.
Oh my God. He did throw that fork. Oh yeah, cheers. I can't remember, but I do know about him
Put the
throwing
fork
it. See, I was
stuck in Uncle Jimmy's neck.
right here, Jimmy's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who got Uncle
Was it,
Tony?
I wasn't there then.
Oh,
I
Grandpa
was-
got Uncle Tony dead over the stove. Yeah. Yeah. Well, somebody said Grandma stabbed.
Wait a minute.
Mom, Kate, Uncle Gus in the hand. My mother did that.
Yes,
Yes.
Dave told me that.
Yes, yes,
What
yes.
happened?
I wasn't there. Like I said, I was old enough.
Oh, really? He was reaching for the last pork chalk. And
Well,
just
whatever.
And she went like this. Yeah, she did. She
Did
did.
she really?
She did.
My mother was the sweetest, greatest lady in the world. You telling me she did this stuff?
I'm not allowed to say I have to pee, because I have to say I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay, okay.
Lauren told me I can't say I have to go pee. I have to go to the bathroom.
You come back, I want to hear some stories about my mother.
She was saying, we're trying to, we thought she was saying 18. She said Annie.
Gary?
some weird way that we picked out our end receivers. It was like, the guy can't block,